Literacy in the 21st century. Literacy is the ability to understand and derive meaning from any particular text, allowing one to actively function and relate to or be understood by others who are also literate in that specific environment. In this case, a text can be anything that can be interpreted for meaning, making it possible and common for one to be literate in some areas but illiterate or less literate in others. With that being said, common texts, since they can be anything, are always changing and evolving, so the meaning and context of literacy is too as a result. Literacy is dependent on context, such as the time period, personal experience and knowledge, location, and more. When talking about academics, literacy extends beyond reading and writing traditional text. It includes other disciplines such as technology, music, the arts, social situations, and more. In conclusion, Buell describes the dynamic nature and subjectivity of literature by stating, "The key concept of this new definition of comprehension is that a reader constructs a meaning from a text, rather than merely reproduces what is seen on the page. Meaning is something that is actively created, rather than passively received."
Now we move on to the role of technology in literacy. Technology has a critical impact on literacy development in adolescence. It becomes more focused on individual capabilities and their individual skills because it can be customized to each child's needs. Technology is extremely flexible and fluctuates to what children need. It allows students to create. For example, there's apps that allow kids to plan, research, and share information quickly. And teachers can take advantage of these opportunities by allowing them to create their own products, such as brochures or any other online format. And it helps keep the child self-motivated because it will ideally take pride in these new activities, which wants them to do the best they can. And invents new ways to organize information that is available to children and how they can perceive the information. So online articles are very different from textbook writings that are very commonplace in today's schools. It can open students' abilities to use visual, auditory, or any other senses to comprehend a classroom task. So say a child is not doing very well listening to a teacher in class, but can read an online article or watch an online video, or perhaps create some sort of visual representation of what they are studying through modern day technology. It expands the reach of students' abilities to communicate with others, i.e. they can break past international barriers and speak with international students. And that is just one of many ways that technology can overcome barriers that once seemed impossible to overcome. It allows for students to stay updated with current class notes. If for some reason they are absent or sick or ill, they can still receive the notes to the class and stay up to date with what the class is doing. And it also breaks down the barrier between children with learning disabilities and current standards by giving them the resources to try and learn new things in a different manner. So yeah.
All right, next we'll move on to technology and literacy research. There's a tremendous amount of research that supports the use of technology in classrooms. One study that I read about is about a third grade student named Katie who did a literacy summer program. And it was actually a graduate student who performed this research, and she worked with Katie and helped her engage with technology to improve her reading and writing skills. And one thing that this research found is that if students are unfamiliar with the technology that they're using, it does not improve their literacy skills because they're spending more time learning the technology than working on their actual literacy. However, if the students are already proficient in using that type of technology, then it has a tremendous improvement on their literacy skills. So one example of this is that when Katie was reading on the computer, she said it was a lot easier for her to follow along because the words were highlighted when they were being read aloud. And that was one of the things that Katie struggled with the most. It's called tracking, and that's the ability to stay on the line that you're reading when you're reading in a traditional book. So this helped her with her tracking abilities, thus helping her literacy skills. She also said she liked how she could sometimes click on the pictures, which would give her more information about the text. And so that just shows that students are really willing to dive deeper into the text, but traditional textbooks don't really offer that. And so using these different types of technologies give them a lot of ways to dive deeper into their text. And it also shows how much their motivation and skills really increase when they're using this type of technology. And so one quote from this study says, "Katie thrives in reading and writing when she is able to use the different features available through the use of technology. This not only is increasing her motivation, but her skills as well. As I used different forms of technology with Katie, I realized her abilities in reading and writing improved. Her expertise with technology provided Katie with the skills necessary to utilize the ebook to the fullest potential. Due to the fact that Katie is a digital native, her skills using technology help further her reading and writing skills." There was another study conducted in an elementary classroom that assesses the use of technology in a social skills development program, which is like a special education setting. So this was done in a 3rd and 4th grade class with these special education students. And what they did is they followed 2 separate classes from the same school that had similar student makeup. And they had one teacher that utilized technology and one teacher that did not. And they just did a comparison of those 2 classrooms. And so they found that technology increased the student motivation and willingness to participate in the classroom where technology was utilized versus the class that it was not. And like an example of how they were using this technology is they did a lot with the smartboard and let the students interact with that, and that really seemed to engage the students a lot versus just being lectured. And so one statistics from that is when they interviewed the students from each class after the study was conducted, 10 out of the 10 students indicated that they are much more willing to work and participate in lessons when some form of technology is being used, whether it's the smartboard, laptop computers, or desktop computers. So really, no matter what type of technology the teacher was utilizing, the students were more engaged. And a final research and just statistic that we found was that some other students 2, 5, and 7, and 8, as they were labeled in this study, all stated that the use of technology was an incentive for them to complete work and behave in class. So it's not only engaging them in literacy, but it's also motivating them to complete their work and to behave. Finally, in the Peter and Patty reading, we saw how one's success at linear text is not indicative of their success at reading digital text, which is what Peter exemplified. And then we also saw that reading digital text offers many ways for readers to experience the reading process, while linear text offers only one way.
Guidelines for using technology in schools. Greenville County Public School District has on their school district website their guidelines for the use of technology in their classrooms. And that is, students are allowed to use the internet, email, and portal. They are also allowed to use district-assigned computing devices such as personal electronic devices, laptops, desktops, and portable storage. And a personal note of that is, in my field placement, I've noticed that students have school distributed Chromebooks, and other schools in counties like Aiken, Oconee, Pickens, Anderson, and Edgefield County are hopping on board with this type of distribution. And students are also allowed in Greenville County to use the district's network and supporting systems and data transmitted by and stored on these systems. Even poor school districts such as Lee County or Darlington County in the corridor of shame in South Carolina are hopping on board to implement technology in their classroom. The picture here shows that Lee County is using roughly 33% of their school revenue on getting technology in their classrooms, whereas Aiken County, one of the higher up in revenue counties in the state, is using 10%, but no matter what, technology is being incorporated in the classroom. Many programs like Project Lead the Way are bringing in STEM job interest into all levels of school. And a newer program, STEAM, Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math, is taking those STEM job interest, skills, and crafts and applying them to everyday life in society.
And finally, here we have the resources that we used to conduct our research and to build this PowerPoint.